Hello and welcome everybody. In today's video, we are going to be working on the bone meal factory. But you might be thinking that it's already looking fully done. So let me explain what I mean by that. Well, looking at the back of the factory, you can see that I haven't really built anything. There's just like a sheer cliff wall, and there's nothing that looks really developed back here. In fact, there's still a concrete converter that I've left over here looking very, very broken. It's still built with cobblestone. So one thing that I'd like to do is develop this back area, make it look nice, maybe like a shipping yard, and try to incorporate the concrete converter into it rather than just having it laying in the backyard. Inside the factory, however, there's only two problems. One problem is that there's a window to nothing because I decided I was going to build the inside as a box and the outside as a box. So having this window here doesn't really make any sense. That's a really easy thing to fix. But the next thing that I need to do is figure out what to do with this hole that I just spent the entire intro doing. It took about 5 hours. Given that above is a bone meal factory, I would also like to have this whole area have something to do with bone meal as well, which is why I'm gonna make 9 separate moss farms all connected together to form a very big bone meal farm. Now, this way, I'll be able to get about 1 bone meal per second, assuming that each bone meal used gives about 1.5 bone meals profit, or in simpler terms, it'll get about 56 stacks of bone meal per hour. So for this farm, we're going to need repeaters, comparators, observers, pistons, sticky pistons, droppers, dispensers, and redstone torches, as well as some black glass because I think it makes it look very nice. And we're also going to need some water and some lava to generate the stone for the moss farm. Now that I have all these frames set up, let's dig down a little bit and set up each of these segments. Alrighty, well the first segment of the moss farm is pretty much all done. So you can see I've already tested it out a little bit, but for now I just have a manual switch. So every time you click that, both of the stone generators activate and you can see the moss kind of gets destroyed and thrown up. And every third activation, you'll see that we get a bone meal activation, plus this piston breaks anything on top of the moss just to stop it. Plus the water flows, which pushes all the extra stuff over there. Eventually we'll replace that with a clock. Every 30 ticks we'll get 1 pulse, and that way it's the same rate at which lava flows, so there will be no cobblestone generated. But I think the next step is going to be actually just copying this down. I'd like to get at least 1 row done before I try to figure out where I want to connect all the pipes and stuff. Alrighty, so now I've got the composter area finished. As you can see, it kind of enters this loop and it all gets composted. That way I can turn it into bone meal. And then at the very bottom down here, if I click this Noteblock, you'll see that the bone meal gets shot out. Eventually I'm going to replace this activation with something more automatic, but for right now, I don't want to do anything too permanent. So I just did this because it's really easy to show off. By doing it this way, I kind of allow everything to be like shown. What I'm gonna do is end up putting a layer of like glass on just directly on top of this so you can be standing over any of the farms, and that way you can just look down and see them. And the same will go for this area, so I'll be able to stand on a glass platform over here and just watch all the bone meal come in. And also you have to keep in mind that the moss coming in through this pipe is going to be literally 3 times as much because I still have 2 more rows to do. So I think my next plan of action is to just get all of these 6 remaining segments all built, and then I can worry about where to put the bone meal afterwards, because I'm going to need to have it roll up on a tube and slide over each of these hoppers to make sure that each of the farms is getting replacement bone meal in order to make sure, you know, the whole thing is completely infinite. And then at the very end, I'll have a tiny bit of bone meal that gets like past everything. It's just extra, and that will be what I can actually use from this farm. Alrighty, well now I've got all of the different segments done. So this is about the rate that bone meal actually flows out of the farm. It's very loud right now. But yeah, so this is about the rate that bone meal gets produced. However, this isn't actually the profit rate since it has to go fill up all these hoppers. Because every now and again, you'll see in just a second, this will go down to 63. Boom, 63. So the actual rate that it fills up is about the rate as you see items skip and pass over. So there's basically waves. There'll be none, and then a bunch will shoot up over. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. The next step is going to be to actually make everything look nice, put a layer of glass on top, and make everything look super industrial, which I'm going to use a lot of orange and blues. I think that'll make everything look super nice. So I guess let's get right into decorating everything. Alrighty, well, I think I've got all of the, basic decorations done. So you can see I've kind of covered over all of the farms, and I've set up this little perimeter, as well as for this water stream, not the other one. I've kind of made a nice little pipe, put copper on the sides, which will eventually oxidize and turn into a very nice blue color. And then for this segment only, I have like the walls set up, and I'm just gonna leave it be stone at the bottom. I think that looks nice. It blends in with the other stone, but I'm definitely gonna do this to the walls. So put some copper, put some more acacia. Honestly, I think it looks really nice. So I guess I'll do this to all the other sides. Alrighty, well, I've got each of the chambers all set up now, and you can see I got this pipe done. And I also got this back wall done. It's just kind of like mirrored. It's perfectly symmetrical down the middle line. That's a 3-block thing of acacia planks. But yeah, I'm kind of liking this wall. It's got a lot of depth to it, and it's very well lit up, I think. So I think I might just kind of do this all the way around and then stop when I get to here, because obviously here is where stuff gets turned into bone meal, and then I'll maybe make a storage system behind it or like to the side of it or something. I just realized that I forgot to copy this layer of deep slate, so I have to break all that, this too, and just move it up a layer, which means I need to dig out even more of the ceiling. Oh. Well, I got quite a bit done between now and the last clip, and not a lot of time either. This didn't take too long. But as you can see, I kind of moved this wall all the way around. I actually got that little line put in. And then I've also started on this area. So here you can see I fully decorated the composting zone. So I think it looks a lot cooler. Now you can just stand on top of it, and it looks especially cool when all the bone meal shooting out. Now I also have a big chest wall where behind you can see there's a couple hoppers. I haven't hooked it up yet, but basically my next plan is to take this pipe, which just kind of dead ends all the way down here. I'm gonna loop it back all the way around, and then put it up a bubble column somewhere over here, someplace over here behind the wall, and it'll flow over here, so you'll be able to access all the bone meal. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much ready to just finish this off, and then I can start on the backyard of the factory, which I still haven't done anything to yet. That'll be the next part of the project I need to work on. Alrighty, well, I kind of got the whole thing done. The only thing left to do is to actually make the tunnel bit, but I'll worry about that in a second. As you can see, I kind of mirrored it everywhere, but I turned them into vents on every other side, so they've got those trap doors. And the ceiling's kind of plain, but I wanted the focus to be on the room, not on the ceiling, so I didn't want to make it too like crazy. And I especially wanted to keep the focus down here and over here, So as you can see, I've added 2 levers. This one starts up the moss farm. So we should see the whole clock and everything starts going. You see how that pulses, that's just in line with the clock. But if I flip it off, you should see that it maybe get one more and there shouldn't be any more. Nice. So yeah, as you can see, that whole clock is now set up to that lever, which is just amazing. And this is just connected to the droppers. So whenever it pulses the droppers, and whenever it's, off, droppers aren't dropping. So, pretty easy. Storage is all hooked up, so bone meal flows in. And yeah, I mean, I've got this whole area done. I think it looks pretty cool. I really like how this whole area turned out. The whole storage area, I think it looks pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get this tunnel done now. Alrighty, well, we got the room and the tunnel done now. So if I come in here, you can see now that when I open the door, it's kind of a plain room, but it works as a room. And then, boom, moss farm. So it wasn't anything serious. I doubt I even showed a montage because it really only took a little bit of time to finish. But now we could finally move on to part 2 of this video, which is going to be worrying about everything in the backyard. So yeah, all I want to do is turn this into the back of a factory, basically. Like, I want to make these garage doors look like they have a purpose and put some semi-trucks and some crates and stuff around. Make it look like it actually is a factory and not just a building of a factory and then green grass all around it. Just kind of making it look like it fits more, kind of like how I added this kind of protective barrier around this one. I don't think I'm going to do the same for this, but I'm definitely going to make it blend in more. I also want to incorporate this concrete converter, but I'm going to break it and move it and make it better and also make it, actually fit the whole theme. So I guess let's get right into building that. Alrighty, just thought I'd check back in and show you what I've done so far. I've kind of extended a little bit of a field out so that way I've got some space to work, and then I had to light up underneath, as you can see. But yeah, so I've got this pretty cool crane, I think. I tinkered with it for like half an hour, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna put one of those shipping crates right there. Here, I'll show you what I mean. So as you can see at the front of the factory, I've got these 2 semi-trucks with these shipping crates. I think these are going to be the 2 colors I use just to kind of, put the whole build together. So I'll put one of these hanging from that chain. But I think next I'm just going to keep filling in the floor, and then I'm going to build up a little like packaging room type deal. And in that packaging room is where I'm going to put the concrete converter. So after a lot of work, this is the updated model that I came up with. Basically, it doesn't really change that much. I just think it's a little bit nicer. But yeah, so this is how you activate it. You just turn the lever on, and then you can stand here and just place if you time it right. And then you just hold down the button, and you can see everything's moving over. Super nice. And then we should see on this next row, everything gets pushed out. Beautiful. And it doesn't ever mess up or like get stuck or whatever. So pretty happy with it. It is very loud though, so that's why I added that off switch. So I think next I'm just gonna quickly build a nice little building around this to house it in and make it look nice. Obviously you wouldn't place stone bricks there though. You'd place concrete powder, which I think I have in here. But yeah, I don't want to waste the concrete powder right now. Anyways, let's get to building. Alrighty, well, I got the concrete converter all done. So I'm pretty happy with it. As you can see, I've got a garage door that's open to allow all the concrete to, fit through. When it's full, I think it reaches to here, and then it just kind of it's full, so you can't do anymore. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I put a trigger like this instead, because I thought a lever might be a little goofy. And it's pretty nice. It doesn't actually take up that much room. And then Like even back here, very small blueprint. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to build another building like this over here. And then in this one, I'll have a lot of bone blocks and like shipping containers and stuff to make everything look super nice. I also got some more of the parking lot done. I think this looks pretty good. So I'll build that one and then I'll leave this area more open. I do also need to put a road here that'll kind of go, I guess, around because it needs to connect up to this road, but I don't, oh, maybe I should run it here. Yeah, maybe I should run it here. It just, I don't know, it's a little bit of a tight squeeze. I don't know. Yeah, I'll decide more on that later. But what matters right now is that I'm gonna go ahead and get the second kind of storage building set up, and then I might even get a couple semis in. I got quite a bit of new stuff to show you guys, so I figured I'd check in. As you can see here, I've got a full semi truck with a little container on the back parked up. And then over here you can see I added a container here, and then I also have just a semi and just a trailer. I'm actually really happy with how it worked because I think it's very realistic. Like if you were to actually slot these two things together, they'd fit perfectly as long as you remove this thing, which is just here to hold the trailer up, by the way. But yeah, not to brag or anything, but I am very happy with how these two turned out. And then you've already seen this building, but you can see I made it a little twin. And over here, I've got a bunch of containers as well, which I think is nice. It just adds to the whole like aesthetic, I think. I didn't want it to just be one. I thought two was better. And this one, I was able to close the garage some more. This one has to be open in a 5x5. Oh, I also don't know if in the last clip I showed you this or not, but I added an off switch basically. So now whenever all the concrete gets pushed out, when it gets to this final layer, it'll send a signal which will stop this piston from working. And that just means that, you know, once this fills up and these can't push anymore, it won't go through the wall. I also did quite a bit of texturing over here and just mixing it like in the grass so it blends. I think it turned out pretty good. I especially like the use of packed mud and stuff. In between those two, I want to put a dumpster, which is like very similar to this one I built. So I think I'll definitely incorporate that. But yeah, I think what I'm going to work on now is expanding this area some more and then getting the road done. I just wanted to check in because I got quite a bit of stuff done and I don't want to come in at the very end and be like, well, I finished the entire project. But yeah, let's get back to building. Well, I'm done. I finished the whole project. I'm pretty happy with it. So as you can see, I've extended the slope out and I'll show you a better viewpoint in a second. But yeah, look, I did decide to add in these gates because I just feel like it's way more realistic. And I also wanted to build this because I thought it'd be pretty cool. But if we just hop over here and get off the horse, you can see the whole finished product. So it looks about the same. I mean, as I've been showing you, most of the changes are pretty tiny, but I have gone around, I've extended the concrete back here and I've made sure to mix in a bunch of dirt and packed mud to make it look all worn out with some grass and some dandelions. And I just think it looks so good. And there's also a little bit poking out. You can see, especially over there, there's some concrete. But one of the biggest things that I've done is that I've worked on this little cliff area. So it wasn't very difficult, but, or I mean, it's also not very complicated, but I think it makes it look so nice. I love this little cliffside, to be honest. It just looks cool. And it finally means that I can say that I'm done with this, except for one thing. The only thing left for me to do is to finally replace this window. This is going to be quite possibly the biggest project that we have left before we can say that this entire project is complete. So I guess let's get to mining. And finally, it's time to place in the 12 concrete. Wow. Now that was a huge task with a massive payoff. But anyways, everyone, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully in less than a month this time, you'll be able to see my next video where I work on a cliffside. And it's going to be absolutely massive, and I think you guys are really going to love it. So make sure to check that out once it's published, and I'll see you guys next time.